a radio, it must be intentional. So if you're gonna go for a woman, I think you must understand that she can reproduce, and if a child resulted, whatever way you can, you must be able to support that child. It has to be an issue of responsibility. If you are currently unemployed, there are many ways in which people do stuff. So if you have to go to people's houses to wash their clothes just to get income, I'm sure you could do that. If you have to go to people's places to cut grass, I'm sure you could do that. If you have to partner with a few friends who have to set up a small laundry thing in the community and wash people's clothes, dry it, press it, take it back, I'm sure you're going to get some kind of income. So we cannot look at specific circumstances that, oh, John is unemployed, so let's let him loose. If you have a child, it comes with a responsibility. Even if you and the mother are not together anymore, the both of you must agree to support that child. Because you see, children continue the society. When you say you have 10 million people or you have 5 million people, if 40% of them come from broken homes where they're not supported and they're not educated, it challenges the progression of the country. So we have to ensure everybody is properly supported, everybody is trained, and it has to start from the individual, because if you don't do that, then you have that massive burden that still falls on government. So everything then they say government. We too must be able to do those things that must be done to ensure we have a progression in society.
Yeah,
go ahead.
How prevalent is this, based on your own personal statistics? How prevalent is this entire issue you raised?
Oh, it is. It's quite massive. I think it's probably you're talking almost 10-15%. It's quite massive all over the place. It's quite massive. Think about it. All of those guys that you call Isakaba or whatever you call them, Zogo, they are having kids. They are men. They're sleeping with women. Those women are having children. I think during the past government, when they raided Center Street, you saw women there with kids and all that. So these things are quite prevalent. They're all around in society. And so it's important that we address them now to ensure it may be a sad social issue, but it's beginning to, ride right in. And that's why you have this outcome of people being uneducated, unskilled, because they didn't have the foundation in the first place.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Well, my name is Samson David from ELBC. So with just an open call, do you think we'll get a needed support?
That's why I said to this end. So the way it works, you firstly raise the alarm, and then you start to take the action. So the next action will be to partner with the legislature, like I told him, to ensure that is passed. But the first thing is to elevate the topic. And we depending on the media to elevate this adequately, to have it discussed. Let it be a social discussion so people call in. Have a special line for the women. Let the women call in. So you will be, like he asked a question, what's the prevalence? You will be able to see the prevalence when you open the line and get people to start to express that. You have lots of those things. Who would have thought that somebody like me was a victim of that?
So lastly, from my end, you are from an opposition party and you have the CDC. Your call to ensure that single mothers are supported. Do you think the legislature will want to ensure that this actually yield result so that you will not get political glory? It's
about perspective. The legislature, in my mind, will be looking more at how this impacts society versus who made the call. We're all aware of it, but the legislature, in my mind, will be looking at what's the impact on society. Is this true? And I think when they start to look at it from that perspective, this is going to be the goal. You see, when elections are over, we must all focus on the governance of the country. So it doesn't matter whoever made the call, it doesn't matter who's saying what, but that thing that is being said, is it right? Is it good to say add value to our country? And when you look at it from that perspective, I'm sure the legislature will be on board. Yes, sir, you wanted to ask another question?
Yeah, finally, from my end, I'm concerned about the legality into this, holding to the fact that you're talking about the law. And have you been able to get some legal consultancy when it comes to this?
Yes, I said there are existing laws. The existing laws are, if I'm a woman and I know, or you know you're the father and you know you're the father, I need to get a lawyer, go to the ministerial court, get a commitment, and then it will be enforced. But then the legality is to get a lawyer requires payment. You know that. So that's the first step. So that's the first hindrance. So for a young lady or for a woman somewhere that doesn't have the money, that process becomes too long. But if she can easily just walk to a government hospital and firstly do the DNA testing of a child and say, this is the father of the child, and they go after him and bring him over from the police action, he is tested. If he contests now that that's not his child, some people might not. If they don't, then that means you are required automatically to support the child. So when it becomes a police action based on the narrative in the law, what it does is it deconstructs the process so much so that it becomes easy to implement. But when you have to go through that complicated legal process of a lawyer, a judge action, then you have to pay the judge, you have to transport, you go today, the judge may not be there, or the case is called, the other party didn't come. All these kinds of complications, most of the victims don't have the resources for that. And that's what we're talking about. Disarming the process, decomplicating it, making it easily available. The first step in any process and any chain will be to set up the DNA machines to make them readily available.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Freeman, I'm Aaron Talo. I work for Spawn TV. People, more especially men, escape from women doing childbirth because they are not financially potent to support.
Then don't create it.
So, even if you go to court, it's a civil issue, it's a civil matter. And once the person is not working, he will not be forced to pay certain amount to the court. So you as an individual, what have you done to create some level of employment so that it can alleviate that?
Let's use what's happening in other economies. If you're a man, you had a child, and you can't support the child, the state gives you work. So they will give you work to cut grass, they will give you work to clean up, and the state take the money that would have gone to you and pay it to the mother of that child. So if you're going to be sleeping with women and just impregnating them because you're unemployed, then you're not helping the progression of society. We may take this thing lightly, but it factors into the progression in society. So if you have about 300,000 people that fall in this category and they become long-term liability, a lot of you remember the Isakaba story during Madam Sally tenure, right? And then Pempe came. When Pempe came, what happened? That whole Isakaba thing dropped because there was an alternative employment. So when we have these guys that do this, and so they don't take care of their kids, then we must compel them. So the city hall has a lot of work. The city hall has cleaning operations. The city hall will take you. You will be compelled to go and clean the street for free, and then the money they should pay you, they pay it to the woman to take care of the child. If that happens, people will learn to be responsible. But I'm saying it is these social issues.
You think they work in our society?
Oh, it's going to work. What's going to stop it from working? If it works in population that has 300 million people, if it works in population with 200 million people, why wouldn't it work with 5 million people?
But we have people who are working that they're not taking pay.
But they're working, but they're not taking pay.
Yeah.
That's a completely different issue. If you're working, you're not taking pay, what's carrying you to the work in the first place? Anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm Amos Kozao from Fortune TV.
Yes, sir.
So this has to do with the law, and there are so many ways we pass law in our country. Either you craft the law and pass through a lawmaker, or you petition the legislature. Which way are you going to?
We're going to sit down with the legislature, and we will craft a way. Like I said, we want to work with women groups, all right? Because some of the way we have perceived it and conceived it, maybe there are other verbiages and other aspects they want to put in to decomplicate the process. We may not have all of the details, but the first step is to make the call. The second step is to take the actions to repair the situation. So now when you go to your various radio stations on your different online platform, an issue that was overlooked now becomes a central issue for us to discuss. That is, if some of you here are not even guilty of that. But if all of you here are not guilty of that, then that's very good. Then, we can begin to elevate these issues so that they can be discussed. Many times the outcome in society is based on how we in society conduct ourselves. You know, it's not just sitting and saying, oh, this, oh, that. Let's begin to look at ways in which we can help these kinds of situations. So we have a better Liberia, a Liberia that is more competent, a Liberia in which everybody has some degree of skill and education, a Liberia in which people can come to Liberia and say, okay, Liberia is a ground where the young people are educated and they can be recruited. Thank you so much, gentlemen, and it was a pleasure talking. Have a good day. Bye.